Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm René Nelson with Pacwest Commercial Real Estate, and today we're asking the expert Zoe York from Duncan Brown. Zoe is an MAI Appraiser, and I want to ask her some questions about the appraisal process. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Good. So Zoe, I know you're an MAI Appraiser. What does that designation mean?
So MAI actually doesn't stand for anything. It's not an acronym, but it's a designated member of the Appraisal Institute. And the Appraisal Institute is a globally recognized organization of appraisers. And when you're an MAI member, you've reached the highest designation that you can get in this professional organization. And to become an MAI, you have to have 4,500 hours of additional specialized experience above your typical license. You have to have several additional classes that you're taking, again, specialized advanced courses, and you also have to take a 2-day comprehensive exam and also write a demonstration report. And the demonstration report is really kind of like a thesis. All in all, it takes about 4 years above your typical license certification. And the MAI designation is recognized in our profession, but also worldwide as being kind of the highest level that you can achieve in our profession.
Wow. And how long have you been an appraiser?
I've been an appraiser I've been licensed since 2011, and I've had my MAI since 2014. And I've worked with Duncan Brown since 2005. I started as an intern back when I was in high school.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the appraisal process. What changes or difference do you see between private work versus a bank? I know the banks have a process they have to go through, right? How does that work?
So when I bid work for a bank, that's exactly what I'm doing. For any job, I tend to give a bid to either a private client or a bank, and I say, this is how much it's going to cost, this is how much time it's going to take me, and they can either accept or reject that bid. And when it comes to a bank, typically I'm one bid in a pool of multiple appraisers that are bidding for the same job. And the banks tend to do that because it's not quite as strict as it is in residential work, where it's completely blind and they're going through an intermediary. But for the most part, they're trying to keep the loan officers and the reviewers separate from the appraisers, so they're not picking who they want to appraise the property. And so typically it's me and several other appraisers bidding for the same job, and we give our time and our fee. And the bank will take that time and fee and they'll select based on their requirements for that particular loan. So sometimes they do want the fastest, sometimes they want the cheapest, and always they want cheap and fast. But sometimes they can kind of have some wiggle room in terms of who they're selecting. And I've been told by some banks that it is completely blind. Other banks will call after the fact, and they might have a little bit of control over who they're selecting, because sometimes the property owner can say, we want Duncan Brown to do the appraisal. And the bank will do everything they can to try to facilitate that, but that's not always something that they can accommodate. And when it comes to private work, we're working directly with clients. The client contacts me, I give them time and fee, they either accept it or reject it. Typically, they're not out there looking for other bids. Mm-hmm. And I tend to prefer that kind of work, because when I'm working directly with a private client, there's not 4 different places where data can get lost or there can be miscommunication. Mm-hmm. It's just me and the client, and there's a little bit more of a personal relationship there. And so they feel really comfortable communicating with me, and we can really get the job done more efficiently with private work. Whereas with bank work, there's so many different parties involved, and sometimes the data just doesn't make its way down to me in a timely manner.
So why would a private individual, say in the Eugene, Springfield market, why would a private individual contact you about an appraisal? What are they typically trying to accomplish?
So very frequently, most of the private work I do is estate work, so it'll be for estate settlement purposes. Typically, their accountant will tell them to contact me, or the accountant or lawyer will contact me directly. And often with estate work, there might be a portfolio of properties, or we might be dealing with multiple siblings, but it's usually the executor of the estate that will actually contact us or facilitate the appraisal. Other reasons we might do private work is somebody might come to us and they might want to get an appraisal done to establish a purchase price. And a lot of times I will counsel against that unless they really need it for purposes of negotiating amongst their family members or negotiating with a board, if they actually really need an appraisal, they need an unbiased opinion to establish a purchase price, we do that quite a bit. But sometimes if they're just looking for a purchase price, I'll refer them to a broker, because a lot of times an appraisal is an overboard measure of trying to figure out what to sell your property for, particularly if it's a type of property that there's not a lot of data out there for.
So in the next series, let's talk about how you analyze a property and how I analyze a property as a broker, and let's kind of compare notes, because I'd be curious to see what process you go through.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm René Nelson with Pacwest Commercial Real Estate. Thank you for watching.